everyone, I'm Anisa, and you're listening to Stars in My Pocket. We're back with this month's Long Yak. In this episode, we wax poetic, or try to, about currently airing dramas, A Poem a Day, the Korean remake of Suits, and the Japanese remake of Signal. So many remakes! We also rant a bit about shows we've dropped recently, and Paroma shares a Chinese drama recommendation. Just a note, if you're wondering why we left out Pretty Nuna Who Buys Me Food, which we are absolutely watching and loving, it's because we're planning a drama deep dive on that once it ends, so stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. As always, thank you for listening, and enjoy the show!
Hi guys, this is Anisa.
This is Saya.
And this is Paroma.
And you're listening to Stars in My Pocket.
How do we mug this up after so many episodes? How?
We just leave that in. It's funny. Alright, so we're going to start out with currently airing KDramas. So let's start with something we've all been watching, or we have watched at some point, although I don't think all of us are caught up on it, which is A Poem a Day.
I'm not.
I'm also not. I'm on like 4.5 episodes, so I think you've still watched more than me.
I also watched 5 episodes, so it's like half an episode more than you.
Oh, okay. And Saya, are you all caught up with that one?
Right? I'm the maniac who picked it up for Drama Beans because I was like obsessed with it, and I was like, please let me do this show. So they let me do it.
Are you regretting your decision?
Not at all. Although I nearly did, because the week that we picked it up was the week some rather dubious things happened. And I was like, So I really like Perma Day, and like I kind of get why you might. I thought Anisa you'd kind of dropped it, so.
No, I'm still watching it, but let's just sort of, describe the premise briefly for whoever, if anyone's not watching it.
A group of physiotherapists in a hospital, and it's very slice of life. It's about their everyday stories with their patients, and this is like it's different to your average medical drama. So they're not like on the on precipice between life and death, and is not like blood and guts and top surgeons. It's just it's a much smaller story in terms of its scope, and like. When I say small, I don't mean... You know what I mean. I don't know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a slice of life. That kind of covers it. Yeah.
Yeah. So...
And we have the main character played by EUB.
Yeah.
And her name is Ubo Young, and she's a very hardworking contract worker, but she's amazing with her patients. Everyone loves her. She's also kind of a pushover, and she feels things too deeply. And
she loves poems.
She's really empathetic. She's really empathetic.
And she posts them everywhere, and she shares them with her patients, and she uses them to understand life.
Well, her background is that she went into physio because she just needed a stable job. She needed a job that paid her money, and though her heart lay in liberal arts, she went.
Yeah, we all know the liberal arts majors don't make any money.
Yeah,
humanities life.
Well, sometimes the science ones don't either.
Right, life is tough, guys.
Exactly. So, she's the main character, and I really think that she steals the entire show. She's wonderful. I have to say that in the first couple of episodes, I nearly dropped that show so many times throughout the first 2 episodes because it was just so miserable. Nothing good happens to her. Not one single good thing happens. Everything is terrible.
Let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. Everyone in this drama is trash except her and
Dr.
Ye, who is just my hero, and I love him. And also, like, YAK is just so charming and charismatic and good as an actor. Like, he sells it really well.
What's really great about the show, though, is that despite the fact that nearly everyone is really horrible, that they're still really human. That when you're at the point of hating them and of writing them off, something happens to bring you back and be like, oh, okay. I'll cut you a little slack because of this or that. And it's true for every character. Although,
But I don't think that they're very horrible. I just think that they show the worst side of these people, the worst side in a more realistic way. Like they are biased against her. They do push work on her. They take advantage of her kindness, and these are all things that people in an office space like hers would do, especially with a contract worker like her. That doesn't make those people especially horrible or evil. They are doing things that come naturally to seniors in a workplace. It's not. So I didn't think that they were particularly horrible, but I did appreciate that we were shown different sides of them. Like there was the one side where, these seniors were constantly taking advantage of Boyang. And then there were the other sides where they had their own personal histories, their stories, their relationships with each other, some compassion for each other, friendship, enmity. And it just, yeah, so I thought they were nicely rounded out that way.
I think the issue is that, sorry, go ahead.
It's just that we aren't supposed to like these characters to begin with. Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the things that I liked about this show.
Yeah, I think the issue is that even though they have those other aspects to them, we don't actually get to see them until episodes like 3 and 4. The first 2 episodes, you just have this constant, people are just dumping their crap on Boyang, and they're teasing her, and they're, and she's getting humiliated, and it's just like one thing on top of another, where I think that's why it felt like a lot initially. So if you just watch the first 2 episodes, your first impressions would be like, oh, this is a very miserable show. Even though it's not. The more you watch it, like you said, you see more aspects.
What made the first couple of episodes bearable for me, or at least funny, was how long-suffering Boyang was. Like, she clearly knew that she was being taken advantage of, and she clearly hated it, and her only response to that was to read more poems and sigh to herself. So, in a way, the show seemed to be saying, look, she's not standing up for herself. These are situations where she can say no, but she just doesn't do it. So, it's like that's part of her character arc. So again, it didn't depress me the same way it depressed you guys. Go on.
I didn't actually find it depressing, to be honest. Like, the reason that I almost dropped it after 2 episodes was not because I found it depressing. I just find the dialogue extremely repetitive and formulaic.
That's true.
Everyone has this certain catchphrase that they keep saying over and over again, and I'm on episode 5 and they're still using the same catchphrases, and even the way the word order of the sentences, I'm just like, can't you just change it up a little bit?
That's the entire point there.
I mean, I don't understand why.
But even Dr. Ye becomes a bit too much when he keeps going like, can I give you an advice?
Yeah,
and it's really,
No, but come on, it's so good. There's this great bit where it's self-aware, like it does it on purpose. And there's this bit, I don't know if you guys have reached this episode yet, but Dr. Ye is looking in the mirror and he's saying to himself, "Can I give you some advice?" And then he's seriously giving himself this advice, and then he's like, "Can I give you another advice?" And then the cleaning lady comes in and she's like, "Can I give you some advice? Get out of the bathroom." So it's it's self-aware. It's not like it's doing it in a cheap way. I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I know that it's self-aware. It just doesn't really work for me.
For everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's also just that that type of humor paired with what is trying to be a very literary, and it wants to have those melancholy moments where everyone's walking home and at night after their tough day and thinking about their own struggles, and then the poetry appears on the side of the bus, or in the water, or on the tree or the bench that they're sitting on, and it's very moody, and I just feel like those 2 aspects don't always fit together for me. And it's working better now, but I still am kind of bothered by the repetitive dialogue. That's just, I feel like the charm of the cast is really what's making me stick around and stay, because I like them together as a group. They have chemistry, and Yubi is just amazing. I love her. She's so good.
How do you guys like Minho?
I hate him. Sorry. And I saw somebody on Twitter saying, "Oh, I think he's actually the hero," and if that's true, then I'm gonna jump ship. I'm telling you this right now. I cannot stand him.
It's so confusing though, because I think the show started off putting him up as the potential love interest, but then they seem to shift direction towards Dr. Ye. And now I don't know, it's seriously confusing. I've never been this confused when I watched Answer Me, because in my head I knew who would end up with. But
did you watch 88, or are you talking about 97?
I avoided 88.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
You haven't lived.
Yeah.
If it's not 88, you don't understand. And I haven't watched it either, but the 88ers tell me this.
Yeah.
I already know who she ends up with, even though I've only watched one episode in 88. So I guess I cannot not have that experience that they had. Sorry, guys.
See, I have this rule of I forbid myself to get on the sinking ship. I just won't. But the problem with this show is that you're already on a ship. You either pick a ship or you go to the island of neutrality, and that's it. And so I have now retreated to the island, and I'm like, okay, let this play out. But I'm actually
Don't you find that when you do that, when you retreat to the island of neutrality, you stop feeling as much for the characters as you would if you were hard rooting for one of them?
I'm so invested in all of the characters that the ship is not the ultimate destination for me. Mm-hmm. It's like all of the characters' journeys, and that they be happy
that's
at
a
the
great
end.
way to watch it if you can manage it.
But the show supports this watching, I feel. This show does support that watching. For example, we just talked about the Answer Me series, and the shipping wars they had in that. With this show, and because I've been getting sort of into the fandom properly, why hold back? It's not a shipping war. It's a giant tea party. Everyone's having fun, whichever ship you're on, or if you're on the island, it doesn't matter. We're having fun.
I think with Answer Me also, there was an element of the writer manipulating.
Yeah, exactly.
The audience a little bit, and kind of trying to provoke a shipping war and trying to provoke people to be second guessing themselves. There were all kinds of red herrings, and so I don't really like that kind of
baiting.
Gimmicky, baiting, exactly. That's what it feels like. And it was not that bad in 97. It got worse in 94, and I guess from what everyone's saying, it was even worse in 88. Mm-hmm. Although I guess by that point you should be expecting it.
Well,
but
what I've heard about 88 is that it had proceeded in a particular way, and then at the last minute, the writer flipped ships with no kind of precedent to genuinely support it. It was just because everyone had guessed. They were like, "Well, we're not going to let you get it right," So
and that's it's a gotcha.
Yeah,
moment,
exactly.
Rather than actually being organic and true to the story that you want to tell and the characters' journeys that you were originally planning and what kind of arc you wanted them to have.
Yeah, it's narrative betrayal.
Right.
Exactly.
In this show, what you've got is you have. I think the narrative that they're trying to create is to get you to root for all of them no matter the outcome.
I think I'm going to be really upset if Minho ends up being the first lead, though, just because I really don't like how he treats other people, and I especially don't like how he treats Bo-young. I don't know if you guys agree with me.
He's too childish, and Bo-young is also pretty. She's got a lot of growing up left to do. So no, they would not be very good for each other. But, I wouldn't mind if she doesn't end up with either of them.
Yeah.
Because she's had her first crush, and then she goes on to have her first love, and then maybe she just moves on from these two. That seems like a pretty good ending to me.
I could go for a story of her self-realization with romance not being a huge part of the ending. I could go for that.
That's basically
guys.
Although I'm up to date with this, so I'm probably a couple of about 3 or 4 episodes ahead of both of you. Don't write off. What I found when I hated him was that he was really horrible and actually downright cruel to Bo-young, but then he wasn't actually terrible to other people. He was pretty okay with other people, but he was really bad to her. He just needed
Was he downright cruel?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you've gotten even further yet, but he has been really Really
I
bad.
mean, even after 4.5 episodes. I don't want to spoil anything, but
would it be a spoiler? See, the reason I'm asking is that his behavior, there were certain misunderstandings between them. Like she thought that he had spread certain rumors that he really hadn't. He was being nasty and cutting to her, but that was in a private setting. He had not actually publicly humiliated her. He had not actually done any of those things.
no, I think no, because for me, like, it wasn't about the rumor that like the rumors were not either of their faults really. That was just a misunderstanding. But like and this happens in the first or second episode, like he comes up with a cruel nickname and he says it in front of all of the coworkers. And then everyone calls her that from then on. Whenever she's in an embarrassing position, whether she's sober or drunk, he takes like videos of her and like laughs and mocks her. And then when she tries to, and then like he undermines her in a professional setting, even though she's actually, his superior at work, he doesn't care. He's always, whenever she tries to like, be like, let's just leave this behind us. He's like, no, I have no interest in being close with you. I don't want it. Let's just be enemies, so I just, even if he becomes a better person, like I'm happy for him to evolve and become a better man, but I don't want him to be with her. Sorry, Saya, you were going to say something?
I don't remember what that was, but I think their maturity levels right now don't match. Like, I can't see him with her, but I think his redemption arc has begun, and I don't hate him anymore, and I'm kind of rooting for him to be a good human being. As for ships, I'm happy for there to be no ships. Like, all ships can stay at sea for me, as long as the characters themselves are, they're getting their full development and deserved endings.
Yeah, I just need more than 30 minutes of Lee Jung-hyuk on my screen in every given episode. Even if he's just like
giving himself advice in the mirror
and giving people advice, and like treating his patients and that like the red sling contraption thing that he has.
Veins of unpolished beauty.
Does anyone have anything else to say about Paroma Day, or should we move on?
Just that I look forward to Minho's redemption, because I really miss Song Dae-hee from 2017, and I do not like that character turning into this character. So
I agree. It was a nasty shock in episode 1. I was like,
this is why you're gonna be so ready to root for him when he does turn, because of his past.
I need him to pay.
He suffers. Don't worry.
To be punished. Okay, that's good to know. All right, let's revisit this when we finish. We'll talk about it again. Right. So moving on, the next show on our list is Suits. And I have not been watching this, but Naya, are you watching it?
Okay, so
are you watching it? Okay, I want to hear. I want to hear about this because I haven't even watched like the opening credits.
Okay, so Saya, have you watched the original?
No, I haven't. But shall we quickly introduce this and then you can talk about the original?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Suits is literally just aired 1 week at the time by now. The time of recording.
At the current time.
Right, at this current time. I can't speak English, sorry guys. It's Jang Dong-gun's return to the small screen after 5 years? I think the last thing that he did was Gentleman of Dignity. Is it more than 5 years? And I have to shamefacedly admit that I've actually never seen him in anything before. 2012. So
really?
I haven't. So for me, the draw is.
Did you not watch Gentleman's Dignity?
No, I didn't, because it didn't sound interesting. Sorry.
Oh, you didn't miss anything. He was horrible. I mean, his character was horrible, and that was a horrible drama, in my opinion. But,
so you've got Park Hyung-sik opposite him, and I have to say that's my draw here. But it's also directed by the same director as Mystery Queen and Healer. So that should interest you guys.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So, P, can you give a...
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Suits is essentially about... let's just stick to the Korean drama Suits for the introduction. This drama is essentially about Park Hyung-sik's this character called Go Young-moo, who is in a situation where he's a very smart guy. He can memorize. He's got an eidetic memory, so he can remember anything that he's read and understood. But despite having a lot of potential and really wanting to be a lawyer, he makes a series of bad choices and ends up a parking valet and basically living with his pothead friend whose influence keeps leading him down, worse paths. So that's his situation. And then you have the other half of the impending bromance, which is Jang Dong-gun's attorney Choi, who is this hotshot lawyer who's like about to become senior partner in his firm, and his boss is like, go find yourself an associate, because he's been refusing to get one. And so he's interviewing this associate, these others, these top law school graduates, when through certain mysteries of fate, Park Hyung-sik's character walks in, even though he's not a law school graduate, and he's just basically trying to escape cops. And the two have a conversation, and Park Hyung-sik ends up becoming an associate, and that's where the story, goes. So this is an adaptation of the American Suits, which was a tremendous success, and I was a huge fan of. And I have to say, I am really, really excited about it. I gobbled up both episodes like just a couple of hours back. I didn't even know it was releasing, but now I can't wait for the next episodes. The casting is pretty damn fantastic. There are certain changes that I don't quite agree with, but I have to admit that overall the adaptation is faithful. The characters have retained their original arcs, I suppose, but they are not copies of the original. They have their own personal integrity, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Can I ask you something?
Exciting.
Go ahead.
So, I haven't watched the original at all, and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking still the US version does not attract me at all, but this one does excite me. Read into that what you will. But because of K-Drama's track record with remaking American shows, immediately what comes to mind is Entourage and Criminal Minds, which I think we can both agree were absolute disasters. What do you think the potential is for this show?
Good Wife, right?
Oh, I didn't watch that. How was that?
But what? Yeah, I haven't watched it either, but I heard it was a really good adaptation.
It was. It was a 12-episode adaptation, and I think it was better than the original.
Oh,
nice.
That sounds interesting.
And also, it's just something about the lawyer setting. Like, Korean drama generally does pretty, they have got a good grasp on the whole courtroom drama thing, and, just character development around that conceit. So, I think they're on pretty firm ground here.
Yeah, especially after the last couple of years of one legal drama after another.
Yeah, there's been an oversaturation, but they have had a lot of practice. So what did you think about it, Saya?
I really liked it. And like I say, I've never seen Jang Dong-gun before in anything, so I'm paying attention when he's on screen, but really I'm kind of watching Park Hyung-sik's character's development. And I really like these young men who are just lost, and then they get a chance, and then you get to see that sort of, it's not quite a coming of age, it's not even finding yourself. How do you say this without being trite?
Redemption?
I'm not sure if that's the word, but it's just getting
into your own?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, something like that. So to see him go from being this complete sort of, not a loser, but he was lost, and now he's finally about to get his chance. And I want to see exactly, I want to see how good that's going to be. And I'm always gone for bromance, so I'm so in for that angle as well.
Yeah, the entire setup of this drama is all about the bromance, and I'm pretty delighted about the chemistry between these two. I can see, because there is supposed to be a sort of a mentor-mentee relationship, plus they are also going to be friends, and they have a huge impact on each other's lives. So this is like the primary relationship in the drama, and I'm kind of very happy about this pairing.
Yeah. I mean, we always we've said so many times when it's like a rom-com that the bromance was the best relationship in the whole thing, and then now we have a Korean drama where like the bromance is the main relationship, and like what perfect casting? Who better to portray these two characters from what you've described to sound perfect in these roles?
So the thing is that, like, I will compare them to the original for just a moment. There are a few things that I've noticed about it. The changes that they have made primarily around Park Hyung-sik's character, Go Young-woo. They have made him more innocent, let's say, because the original Mike Ross, he was basically a pothead. Because he had been expelled from school, like college, because he was trying to get some money by memorizing and selling test papers, and he got caught. So his dream of becoming a lawyer kind of like ground to a halt right there. But because he's a bit of an egomaniac and he is pretty confident about his memory, somebody bet him to pass the bar, and he did, like on a bet, on a dare. He just took somebody else's identity, got paid for that, and he passed the bar several times, and that's how he's been making money, and he's been crashing with his pothead friend, and that's his life. So he made one bad choice, then he kept on making more bad choices. That was Mike Ross, and mind you, he's pretty arrogant about his talent. Park Hyung-sik's Go Young-woo though that's the word. He's way more humble.
And I'm guessing the pothead thing is not a storyline.
So he doesn't touch
he himself
at all.
Yeah. Do you think that's an image thing for the celebrities because of the actors?
I don't know, but they went they went in a roundabout way to emphasize that he will not touch drugs. I mean, the main his storyline, the first episode, changed only in one major way, and that was in showing Park Hyung-sik's Go Young-woo's backstory. There was no need to change it because Go Young-woo has also sort of passed the bar for somebody else. So there was no need to emphasize on how he doesn't want to be involved with drugs, but his friend loops him in and all of that stuff. Also, there was that this coincidental thing that they set up where this rich boy has a grudge against Go Young-woo and kind of entraps him with that drug thing.
Wasn't that a cameo from Lee Kyung there?
Yeah, it was. And the rich boy's father is in a tussle with attorney Choi. So that coincidence was completely unnecessary. Again, in the original show, the problem that he got into with the drugs was that the cops had set up a trap, and his friend had unknowingly sent him into it. So, and then instead of getting caught though, he smelled the trap, he figured out that those were cops waiting for him, and he walked past them. This was in a hotel lobby, and he walks past them, and he remembers that there was this lawyer's conference thing, this interview that was happening. So he walks straight into that just to avoid the cops, and that's how he ends up meeting the original Harvey, and in this one, attorney Choi. And that meeting was pretty interesting, and I thought they did that really well over here. As soon as these two meet, Go Young-woo and attorney Choi, I just forgot all about the roundabout way they did the backstory, because this is what I was waiting for. These two to meet and to see if the chemistry works, and it does work. I think Jang Do-gun is doing an amazing job. Like, he's got Harvey's original charisma, but he puts his own spin on it, and I am really into it.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. Let's hear about it as time goes by. What you think of it when you watch more episodes? I'm interested to hear about it.
Yeah, I am keen to see what Park Hyung-sik does with this, because he is so much more tamped down here. Like, we haven't seen his megawatt smile here, and it just like he's really suppressed. He's not doing his usual thing. Yeah, so I'm assuming that he'll get more cocky as the show progresses, because he's already doing that thing where he is like. So there is this bit in the second episode. He's already comfortable enough with attorney Choi to sort of tease him and kind of, they've started having these banters, and that banter is one of the mainstays of the original show. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Okay, awesome.
I wonder if we've convinced Anisa to watch it yet.
I'm going to wait for a few more episodes to come out and see what everybody says. I'm like a little bit burned out on legal dramas, to be honest, after last year. I kind of need a break, but maybe once, if it turns out to be good and
But you know, guys, maybe like after this drama's over, and if you've watched it, go back and watch the first season of Suits. I think you would really enjoy it.
Okay.
Maybe.
Oh my gosh, the
It
watch
was
list
good.
just keeps getting longer and longer.
It was pretty damn good. And I don't usually say that about a lot of American shows these days, but Suits was really good. I mean, my dog decided to join in.
He's the star of the show.
Okay,
okay?
this is not going to
Does he need something?
fine. He's just spotted other dogs outside. Like, give me a second. Chichudika, bye-bye. Come on, inside. Good boy, Papu. It's okay, now the boys are going.
Okay. All right. So let's go to some K-dramas that we've dropped next, for various reasons. Okay. Why don't you tell us about Great Seducer and where you went with that? What journey did you take with it?
Well, I have to apologize because in the last YAK, I was raving about it. But in the last YAK, I'd only seen the first week's episodes. By the second week, it was completely pants. By the third week, I had dropped it. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
it was very mukjang and crazy, and nothing made sense.
okay.
And yeah,
Yeah. Not
Oh,
worth
damn it.
time.
Yeah.
it just went floppy and limp. You know how it was like so like taut and like tense. By the week after that, it just it was floppy.
Overcooked. Yeah.
Yes.
So I have my own mea culpa because I also was raving about Shall We Kiss First in the last YAK, and I had just watched I think 1 hour of it at that time. I was very excited and loved the opening, and then I watched like 3 or 4 more episodes and I loved it even more. And then I watched 3 or 4 more episodes and I was just like, what is this? I mean, this drama, I thought it was supposed to be like a rom-com about miserable and lonely people, but it turns out like there's so much tragedy. Like there's a dead child, there's 2 broken marriages, there's like cheating, there's cancer, there's like animals dying, there's estranged family members, there's like loan sharks and people getting fired wrongfully and getting sued and taken to the police station, and like it's so bad. It's just so
Is
bad.
this
Are there any
writer
trucks of
like
doom?
not very good with writing plots or something? Why do they have to go this level of mahjong? Like,
I don't
I
know.
mean-
And you know, like I was still on board until the terminal illness, and then I was like, I'm done.
Yeah,
You
like-
missed me. Yeah. So apologies to anyone who started watching that because of my high recommendation. I'm very sorry. Please don't watch it. And I mean, I'm really
glad I
actually
didn't
really
know.
mad because I'm really mad because Kim Sana and Kamu-sang are so good together and they have such great chemistry, and like their love connection is so amazing. But then it's like,
Great chemistry doesn't make up for bad story.
yeah, spoiler if you care, but like if one of them's dying soon in 2 months or whatever, then like that's not the drama I want to watch.
Huh.
So, bah humbug.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next thing on our list is Switch, and Saya, you were watching that?
I was watching that, but yeah, as we said, another one I dropped. So Switch. So it's a Jang Eun-suk drama, which he's starring with alongside Hanyeri. And he's playing like a dual role here. So he's on the one hand he's this really smart con man who has studied for the bar, bar exam, though he didn't actually take it. So how convenient. And the other guy, his doppelganger, is a prosecutor. So doppelganger gets into an accident, and he ends up having to impersonate him. And you would have expected that, you get sort of these doppelganger guys in cahoots with each other. It will be really exciting. Somehow it's not that exciting. It feels very typical. You've got loan sharks, you've got, illegal gambling dens, it's kind of, everything feels recycled in it, which is a shame because it's Jang Eun-suk's last drama before he's going to army. So he's said that it's the last thing that he's doing before he goes. But someone, I read a comment somewhere which described it as something between Doubtful Victory and Two Cups, which I think sums it up really perfectly because they were like aggressively mediocre. And so is this show. Like, it's not bad, It's not bad at all. You can keep on watching it once you've started, but once you've stopped, you're like, huh.
Yeah,
am I coming back to this?
So
it doesn't have any sticking power. It doesn't. By the third week, I was like, I'm kind of forcing myself to watch this. Why am I doing that? And I actually gave myself permission for the first time in my life to actually officially mentally drop it. Because usually I drop things by accident. Like Great Seducer, I dropped it by accident. It just ended up being dropped. This one, I decided I'm not going to watch you anymore. Goodbye.
And you guys gave me permission to drop Should We Kiss First because I was like, I'm on episode 19. You guys were like, don't do it. You don't have to finish. Don't do this to yourself. So thank you for that. You saved me a few hours.
Do either of you follow K-pop?
Not really.
But do you guys know if Jang Hyun-suk is doing well with his singing career?
He has been doing well with his singing career for the last 2 years. He's been doing much more.
He has a lot of his popularity in Japan is really high.
Good, because
he's huge.
His acting career pretty much sucks. So I'm hoping something is going good for him.
He had this tax evasion scandal that, of course, is much worse than sexual assault. So the Korean public, he was kind of blacklisted for a really long time because of that.
What scandal?
A tax evasion scandal. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that is much, much worse than sexual assault.
Yeah, tax evasion and marijuana are terrible, but
rape and battery are nothing.
Yeah, you can be redeemed.
Yeah.
You just need to take a hiatus for that.
That's another thing that I found hilarious in Suits, was that the drug that Park Hyung-sik's character was transporting, because he was the mule basically, and was basically marijuana. It's weed, man, and it's just I don't know why I found it so ridiculous, because weed is so easily available in most cities.
It's just a different idea. They just have a very strict idea of like drugs, and I think it's just a cultural difference. Maybe.
Well, I know, but I'm saying that as a person who's never smoked up and has no interest in. But if I probably wanted weed, I don't even have to like ask anyone, whisper. I can probably like find weed through almost legitimate channels. It just in my head, drugs. As far as drugs are concerned, weed is not exactly very high up. So I found it hilarious that this horrible thing that he was carrying was basically marijuana that in certain parts of the world have started becoming legal.
I would remember like finding out about this a few years back when like there's a member of 2NE1, the American one, the one who like grew up over here and went over there, but she had some kind of like prescription antipsychotic or like some kind of antidepressant with her on the airplane. But she didn't have the prescription with her, and she got dropped from 2NE1 like promotions for a while. Like she just disappeared, and it wasn't even like addictive or like intoxicating drugs. It was just a medicine that she didn't have a prescription for. Like, I mean, I don't remember all the details, so like K-pop fans don't come for me. But like, that's the basic. That was the basic thing. I was like, whoa, this is kind of intense. Like.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everyone's like getting drunk and passing out after work every day, and like on
that's
soju,
exactly
right?
the alcohol is so and it's like soju is everywhere. They are pushing these beer brands and the alcohol in all shows, but somehow I don't know. It's a bit skewed. So yeah.
Suits. What channel is Suits on? Okay, so it's KBS. So the thing with because it's on a public broadcast channel, so I'm guessing that TV because it's public TV, it has to sanitize particular aspects of it.
Yeah.
Also, he can't be shown smoking pot.
Right.
So that might be why the main lead character has been cleaned up.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. There's one other thing I found interesting that I forgot to mention before. Proving that sexual assault is the sort of the zeitgeist right now. The opening case in Suits is a sexual harassment case. So it's good to see it getting these treatments. Like, we've got it in Pretty Nuna. What else have we had it in? I think it's been coming up quite frequently. And
Because This Is My First Life.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, they're dealing with it in with various degrees of success, but they're looking at the issue, they're like taking it head on. I find that really interesting. I'm interested in seeing how this continues in the coming months as well.
So I think we're done with Korean dramas now, and we're going to take a side detour that's kind of K-drama related into the Japanese version of Signal, which is airing right now. Saya, you're watching this right now, right?
Yeah. So
how many episodes in are you?
It's aired 3 episodes. The 4th episode is going to air in a couple of days. So it's different in that it's, I think, only 12 episodes, and the episodes are much shorter. But visually it's very similar, and the cases, it's pretty much like when I watched the first episode, and I have to say, much as I love Signal, the first case is kind of boring. So the first couple of episodes, I watched it in like stops and starts, and perhaps it's that enough time hasn't passed for me between watching the original and watching this, because it's very faithful. What I did is, when I finished watching the first episode, I was kind of in the moment. I was tense. I was like, they're about to, catch the villain of the episode, and I went straight to episode 2 of the Korean and picked it right up, and it was like watching the same show. So it's very faithful.
Interesting.
And they've got the sort of visually, they've got the characters spot on. There's some changes, like, the forensics guy is an older man in this one, and the old detective who was, what's his name? I can't remember. But anyway, he's like he's a little bit chubbier, and like there's these visual differences which are interesting, but the similarity is really striking as well. I think they've cast really well with the Cha Soo-hyun character. What was the actress's name? Kim Hae-soo?
Kim Hae-soo, yeah.
Yeah. The Lee Ji-hun character, I'm not sure. Like, maybe he just hasn't had enough screen time yet, because I'm not feeling that connection with him that you immediately feel with what's his name? Jo Jin-young?
Yeah, Jo Jin-young.
With Jo Jin-young. So, I think it's getting going slowly. The main problem is that the first case is kind of boring. But I'm waiting for the brother storyline and stuff to kick in.
And how do you like because Lee Jae-hoon's character in the original was kind of I guess, almost like the audience surrogate, and like the character that you enter the story through. Do you like who they've chosen in his role in this version?
Again, I can't decide if the problem is that I'm so attached to the original characters. I feel like he doesn't have enough personality yet. Like, Lee Jae-hoon was really cocky in the beginning, right? And he's more questioning, he's more curious, he's more kind of taken aback by this thing that's happened to him. Whereas in the Japanese version, Saigusa, who is the Lee Jae-hoon not Lee Jae-hoon, the Park Hae-young equivalent, he's not as surprised as perhaps he should be, and he's not as curious, maybe. So maybe again, remember, I seem to remember I thought this myself, is that Lee Jae-hoon overplayed it, so he overacted a little bit in the beginning. But I feel like perhaps here, this actor is underacting it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So I want a happy medium.
He was very intense throughout, but he was especially very intense in the first couple of episodes. He kind of like leveled out, but he kept that level of intensity, but he wasn't as like, his eyes weren't popping
out
later on,
Yeah. So I want a bit more intensity. I don't feel it's intense enough. But then the other thing I realised as I was watching is that, they didn't make this show for me. They made this show for a Japanese audience who may or may... And I don't know how popular Signal was in Japan, or if it even, was publicly aired there. So, I don't know the context of that.
Right. And I mean, I haven't watched this, but I feel like in general, Japanese dramas tend to be kind of on an more even keel than Korean dramas, which tend to have
like emotionally
higher
low-key
highs and lower lows. Yeah. They tend to be more dramatic in tone, and like they tend to be like louder almost, but not in volume, but in emotion, I guess.
Yeah, this is actually exactly what I was saying. I was talking to my sister about this earlier, and the thing with Korean dramas is that even we were talking about Circle, and she was like, if Japan remade Circle, it would be amazing because they're good with sci-fi. And my opinion on that is that element might be amazing, but the emotion might not be there. because it's the emotion of a show like Signal that makes us so desperately invested in it. Because there can be flaws in sort of the sci-fi aspect of it, and there were.
Yeah.
And it's the same as Circle. The thing with Korean dramas is that they are a bit weak on the sci-fi side, but they never fail in delivering emotion.
Sometimes Korean dramas they try to emphasize the emotion so much that they end up dragging out character arcs that they don't need to.
That's true as well. Yeah.
Do you mean something particular in mind?
The last drama that Joy did was The Liar and His Lover last year, and I loved it. I loved recapping it, and I loved the drama while it was airing, just simply because the cast was so energetic and the emotions were all there. So that was great. But then I went back and I watched the Japanese version, and I read the original manga, and I have to admit, at that point, I was no longer impressed by the Korean drama. They had dragged out portions that were completely unnecessary and left out development of certain character arcs that would have made the show much better, simply because they wanted to focus on the romance so much. So there are certain things that Korean dramas do that doesn't work. Like if you don't have anything for comparison, then maybe it works. But if you have another drama for comparison, like the Japanese version of this particular drama, then the errors are pretty glaring. So I don't know. Maybe they could have done.
There are certain Japanese shows that I found very emotionally affecting, but the way that the emotion builds is it's kind of on a low level, and then it sort of builds and builds and builds under the surface, and then like right at the end there will be some kind of climactic release of emotion, and if it's done really well, it can be even more affecting because it's not so, melodramatic and over the top, and maybe it's a little quieter, but it's very intense. Whereas with Korean dramas, like you're like first episode, you're in with the tears and the screaming and and sometimes it's like really great because it like just pushes you right into the way that the characters are feeling and you get invested. But at other times it's like a lot, and then sometimes because you start at like a 9, later on when you get to 11, it's not as impactful. Whereas if you start at like 1 or 2 and you get to 8 or 9, you really feel that progression.
Yeah, it really has an impact. True.
Yeah.
So, because you mentioned Joy, and that's actually a really good case in point with The Great Seducer right now, because it's like it has the emotion there, but it doesn't have the storytelling integrity to back it up. It's like all you're giving me is pure emotion. I don't want it because it doesn't make sense. I want a story like a story that has the integrity to support that emotion. So yeah, I mean it's one of those sort of storytelling traps, isn't it? Where if you go sort of overshoot in one direction, you end up shortchanging or ruining the story by not giving it the proper vessel that it deserves.
Yeah.
Tell me something. I'm interested because I didn't actually watch beyond. I didn't watch The Great Seducer beyond the first episode. It is adapted from Cruel Intentions, right? So I was surprised that they were trying to do that because
I don't know that it's adapted from it, but it's kind of based
It's adapted from
on
the
it.
same source material.
Right.
Cruel Intentions is adapted from. Yeah.
But it just, I was surprised when I heard that because Korean dramas are usually so sanitized, especially when it comes to anything like sexual attraction, for instance. They do not deal with it in a head-on manner. And usually I appreciate that because there is an oversaturation of the sexual tension and chemistry thing, especially in Western shows. And at some point it's like, it just, there is too much of a certain thing. You forget that there are other sections of relationship that you also have to develop, which Korean dramas have done and which is why we love them. But because they are usually not very straightforward about sexual tension, attraction between two people, a premise like this would not work out very well if they go too deep into the sort of emotional motivation of the characters, right? Because at least in Cruel Intentions, the movie, the part of the tension was simply in not knowing what the characters were thinking, which is why when the reveal came at the end, it was a proper stinger, and there is a review, guys, in case you haven't watched it. So, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, just I was surprised that they would take it up at all. Like Entourage, as you said, that is just not a premise that in my head works very well with Korean culture and how Korean entertainment usually does these dramas. So
Yeah.
I don't know why they would pick up these dramas at all. I mean, what's the point?
Nobody knows.
Yeah. It was a baffling choice to begin with, and it was borne out in the fact that it was terrible. It didn't work. So shall we move on to our super special extra different?
Wait, I'm sorry. Just one thing before we go into the super special extra thing. It just there's the Chinese drama that just ended, and I just want to recommend it. It's called Only Side by Side with You, and it's about these two techies, I suppose. The girl is the CEO and founder, and also the scientist in a drone company. She has her own drone making company, and it's like a surveillance drone, and she is basically a genius. And the guy is a club owner, but he's also really into drones. And they have a shared history that the girl doesn't know about. And he comes into her life intending to destroy her company, but then falls in love with her. And the thing that I really like about, like, I think in the last YAK, I was raving a bit about Love O2O, or maybe the YAK before that, because I found the girl so refreshing. She's so smart. But then, by the time that drama ended, the girl turned into this perfect wife material, and I cannot tell you how disappointed I was in her character. She basically became the guy's follower. The male lead, whatever he said, she was the perfect complement to his everything. That became the purpose of her life, which is not how she started out. This girl, though, hot damn, man, she's my favorite romance heroine ever. Like, she has a straight head on her shoulders. Whenever the hero tries to do the noble idiot thing, she pulls him back and literally slaps him and is like, you cannot take this decision away from my hand. And I could not love her more. The way she deals with situations, and she can be sarcastic when she has to be, and she does not take any bullshit from the guy, and it's really, really refreshing, amazing. The only drawback to this drama is it's 40 episodes, and at least 20 of them are just full of flashbacks. There are so
my lord.
many flashbacks.
You've switched me off.
Oh no.
I can't do that.
Hey, you have the skip button, guys. Use the skip button. But this is a romance that you guys just watch it and just give it a try. I'm telling you, you guys would love this girl so much. Okay, moving on.
So highly recommended from Paroma. Can you mention the name of that just one more time?
Yeah, Only Side by Side with You. It just finished airing.
Okay. So my question of the week, question of the month, of the YAK is it's kind of related to what we were talking about earlier with the drop dramas. Like, do you have something that will just make you drop a drama? Like, what is your straw that breaks the camel's back?
That's a good
dramas?
question.
Cancer.
Cancer, yes. Me too. As we discussed.
Also, animal death. Basically, those two things.
But weren't you watching Shall We Kiss First? Which has both.
Okay, no, so those are like the extreme things that could get me off a drama, but essentially I need to just like the first, like the main characters in the first few episodes. If I don't, then I'm probably going to drop it. Oh, also there has to be a little bit of humor. If there's absolutely no humor, I will drop it within the first 2 episodes.
So dropping shows is still new to me. Like I literally just have learned how to do it.
Yay! Congratulations.
You have grown up.
The deal breaker for me is if I am bored, then I can't. I know it's not like a specific thing, like, cancer or animal deaths, but I have to be interested. If I'm like, and now I think of it, I've pushed myself through dramas I've been bored through, and I just think, why did I do that? Why did I feel the need to make it to the end? Because I'm a fool, and because sunk time fallacy, and the foolishness of having a completist or completionist, one of them, having this need to complete things, like that need to finish things. Yeah, so like for example, I was kind of bored blind through what is it called? Switch and Two Cups. Actually, it tends to be cup shows, doesn't it? The thing is, I really like K-drama cup shows. I don't like cup shows in general. Like, I won't watch American ones or UK ones and stuff because I have like intrinsic problems with them, or rather, they have intrinsic problems which are problematic for me to watch. But yeah, they can't be boring. If they're boring, then I just am like dead, and then they get dropped.
Yeah, for me, like, if it's boring, I probably, instead of consciously dropping it, I'll just kind of forget about it. Like, if I'm watching it while it's airing, I'll just forget to go back and watch the next episode. Where the ones that I drop are the ones that make me angry. Like, if the two main characters that I'm supposed to be rooting for have, like, zero redeeming qualities whatsoever, and I'm, like, just angry with the way they treat other people, or if, like, the plot starts to take twists where it makes me like think that the writers are terrible people and they shouldn't have the right to have a pen in their hand, or if a drama takes a really problematic and evil turn, or like if cancer shows up in a rom-com, that too. I'm like you're on my crap list now, and I just like lose trust in those writers and I won't go back. I kind of hold grudges. Like I won't watch anything by the Hong sisters because they've done it to me multiple times.
Sounds like Hyogi went down the same way, which I didn't carry on after one episode at all, and it seems like it was a good choice.
Yeah, well, The Greatest Love really disappointed me in the last two episodes with the weird turn that it took, and then Big was just a disaster from beginning to end. I didn't watch the next one.
Wait, what happened to Greatest Love? I loved Greatest Love.
I loved it until episode like 13 or 14, and then they just had the climax of the drama off screen. And then it was 2 years later, and I was like, what? Like, this is what I've been waiting to see this whole time. And
Master's Son was after that.
Yeah. I was like,
that's what I felt in Cheese in the Trap. Damn, that was cold. That was so bad.
Yeah, so that's a really puts me off. The other thing that will make me drop a drama is that when I feel like they're just milking the angst and the tragedy to a point that it's just like torturous for the main character. Yeah, basically. And I'm like, why am I watching this? I'm okay with some drama and some intensity and some angst, as long as there's a reason for it and it makes sense of the plot and you see some hope, if not for a happy ending, but at least for like some kind of, like if it's trying to say something with the suffering, but it's not just suffering for suffering's sake. And if I get the feeling that it's just suffering for suffering's sake, then I'm like, I'm not going to waste my time on this. Like, life is already sad enough. I don't need to watch 16 hours of things that are going to make me feel like I want to go jump in a hole and never come out, you know?
That reminds me of a show that I wanted to drop for the first 8 episodes, but made it to the end. So you've got
8 episodes.
I know, right? King Two Hearts, which I remember like I was IMing with a bunch of recappers at the time that, you know, does this get better? Does this get better? Because Isengi's character is such an ass for the first, I think it was like 12 episodes. It wasn't even 8 episodes. And
a long time.
I was like, why am I still watching this? Why am I still watching this? But everyone told me it gets better. But it took a really long time to get better, and I feel like if I didn't have people telling me just you know, wait it out, I would have dropped that show. But yeah, that's another thing. Like, complete like jerkface heroes, they don't do anything for me.
And also, if the heroine hadn't been so amazing, Hanji something, right? What was her name?
Hajiwon.
Hajiwon. And Hajiwon was the one who made me sit through those torturous episodes, because I was not at all impressed by the princeling. So
I think for me, it was Hajiwon's character was really good, and then it was just really cool to see this kind of fantasy. It's like not a saguk, but it's almost like a saguk in like current times, and the way that they
like
kind of brought in
saguk,
the way they brought in the royalty, and they actually did a pretty good job of incorporating it to modern life, and I liked that aspect.
And we had disability
it was interesting
rep.
enough for me. Yeah, and then like I loved the sister, I loved Ernest Bot, I loved Lee Sang-min as the king, like his older brother, who's amazing.
The frustrated poor older brother.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just so good.
He was really good. So the relationships there were really good, and once Lee Seung-gi's character became less of a brat and just like this irresponsible jerk, then he improved a lot, and then the story got really good. So
it just took way too long for him to reach that point.
I'm also a complete and total stan for is her name Ijeon? The one who plays the princess? His sister?
I can't remember what her name is. Let's look it up.
I love her so much. Like, so underrated. She's so good. And she's so good in everything. And, like, I don't understand why she doesn't get more lead roles. Because she's amazing.
What was the character's name?
I don't remember now. It's been so long. But just her whole storyline, like, it was heartbreaking. But that song that she sings, that, like, the actress actually sang in real life, when that song comes on my iPod and I'm driving in the car, I legit start crying. Like, even now, it's been like 5 years. I cry whenever I hear that song. So, yeah. I can get why you wouldn't be into it because of the hero and the beginning. Yoonji, that's right. Yeah. I mixed up the syllables. But yeah, I loved her so much. So, shall we wrap up then?
Okay, penguins! So.
Yay! What is it this time?
Yeah. I am so ready.
Why was the
to me with the Ajay gag?
Why was the penguin popular?
Because he was wearing black tie.
Nope.
I don't.
Where's your game today? I'm disappointed, Anisa. You always have a good answer, but you don't have one today.
I'm sorry.
I never have a good answer, so none are expected of me.
I spent 5 hours writing my Infinity War review yesterday. I'm really tired.
I shall tell you. So the penguin was popular because he was a nice guy.
What?
He was an ice guy.
That is fantastic.
Oh boy.
That is punishing.
Yeah,
Indeed.
it is.
Punishment is a form of torture involving puns.
Exactly.
My favorite pastime.
Yeah, it's painfully funny.
I feel like this segment is so true to the fact that to the spirit of this being a Korean drama podcast, though, because like Korean dramas really love their puns. Korean people really love puns. We love puns. We love Korean dramas. It all kind of comes full circle.
Yeah, exactly. You know what's great is when you because you and I learning Korean, when you actually get them, like you don't need a translation, and you're like, ha, I got that. That was so funny.
Smart. Yeah, because and then you're like, oh, the subs didn't catch that wordplay.
Yeah. It's good times, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's sign off here.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, Anisa again. We hope you enjoyed that, and we apologize heartily for our misguided recommendations last month. Hopefully you didn't suffer as much as we did. As always, we'd love for your feedback, and we'd love for you to send us questions that you'd like us to ask each other. You can leave a comment on our YouTube channel, Stars in My Pocket, tweet at us at KDrama Podcast, or email us at starsinOurPocket@gmail.com. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes because it helps people find us. Thanks again. That's all from me. See you next time.